All right. Good evening, everybody. The time is 7 o'clock and we are ready to start our city council meeting. So first up, Deb, would you kindly do roll call?
Counselor Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Hancy. Counselor Purser. Counselor Parrish.
Here.
Counselor Downs.
Here.
And Counselor Miller.
Present.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask that everybody stand for a moment of silence to collect your thoughts, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God,
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have an agenda set forth before us. I would like to make one addition to our agenda, which is that we go into, we convene an executive session to develop strategy for negotiations and informing negotiators with regards to 19 Road project. So does anybody else have any other change? Are there any other changes to the agenda?
There are no other changes to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. Somebody care to make a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as before us with the addition of the item mentioned. Second.
First and second, Deb?
Counselor Williams.
Oh.
Counselor Hancy.
Yes.
Counselor Purser.
Yes.
Counselor Parrish.
Yes.
Counselor Downs.
Yes.
Counselor Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We have two proclamations and presentations tonight. The first one is a presentation from Barnhart Communication, and then followed by a request to approve Resolution 2024-43. And Ciara, you're kicking us off?
So I will kick it off.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, members of City Council, Ciara Amon, Communications and Engagement Manager. Tonight, you'll hear from Barnhart Communications and consider Resolution 2024-43, approving professional services agreement for advertising and promotional services. As part of the larger marketing strategy for Fruita's tourism efforts, the Fruita Tourism Advisory Council staff and the City Council work closely with a contracted agency to create and distribute marketing material about visiting Fruita. In September of this year, the city issued a request for proposals to solicit bids for advertising and promotional services. And after thoroughly evaluating the proposals, the Fruita Tourism Advisory Council recommended awarding the contract for these services to Barnhart Communications. It is proposed that Barnhart Communications starts in January 2025, and this change has been recommended to continue building on the city's growing tourism industry, enhancing marketing efforts, and improving Fruita's visibility as a destination for travelers. So with that, I would like to welcome the Barnhart team up to the podium to provide an introduction to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciara, and it's really a great pleasure to be with you all. What a warm Fruita welcome it is. I know this is going to be a terrific, tremendous partnership with the city of Fruita, and we're very excited to be able to work with you. We're going to tell you a little bit about Barnhart in 10 minutes or less and give you the opportunity to ask us any questions by introducing people in the room and some of our key deliverables and our experience as well. I'm Bill Schumacher. I make sure everybody's in the boat, so to speak. And Kim Fredericking is the key contact, the day-to-day account service person on the business. Matt Engelson is the creative leader who will ideate and develop the overall brand campaign for the city. And we're also joined by several other members of our core team who couldn't be with us tonight. Diana Berry is our media director. Janet Jerd is our social media supervisor. And Kelly Leathers is our public relations supervisor. So that's really the core team composition that will be working with you throughout the contract. But a very expert, experienced group. And destination marketing or travel tourism is really a core competency or a sweet spot of Barnhart. We've worked with large clients like the state of Wyoming, small clients like the town of Pagosa Springs and the city of Littleton, and Fruita's definitely going to be in great company. And again, we are very, very proud and excited to be able to work with you. We want to highlight a couple of examples, the first of which is Breckenridge. The campaign is entitled #BreckBecause. It was really a user-generated campaign that really captured the voice and the spirit and the enthusiasm of visitors about the town of Breckenridge. Very successful in terms of driving visitation, economic impact, and it also won the Governor's Tourism Award as the best new campaign in Colorado several years ago. Another example, a current client is the city of Greeley, and the current campaign is called Greeley's Got It. It's really designed to excite and motivate current city residents as well as interest and engage potential prospective visitors, really highlighting key events and attractions in the city in a very kind of positive, enthusiastic, contemporary way. And Matt's going to relay a couple of other examples.
Yeah, and Bill focused on those examples because they are such a direct corollary to exactly the challenge that we see in front of us with the city of Fruita. But they're not where our experience begins or ends. The team here and the team behind us has been doing this for decades upon decades upon decades. In places with budgets that are big and small. So on this slide here, you're seeing just a few of these logos. You're looking at things like the Colorado Come to Life campaign, which members of this team have worked on. Wyoming's campaign, the State of Wyoming Tourism Department. So we have that experience in making sure that the everybody that's involved in that tourism campaign is working together towards the larger goal. We've also worked on destinations such as Snowmass, and you have the Dinosaur Museum here. This team also launched Snowmass's own Ice Age exploration. So that experience working with the Aspen Science Center, Denver Museum of Nature and Science, all the things we need to make sure all the players are rowing the same direction, making great marketing for the city of Fruita. I think so. I can actually take this slide. We obviously rehearsed this on the car on the way up. It was, everything is going. So philosophy on tourism advertising, what binds all those things, all those logos that I just showed you together? First of all, we understand that you have one of the most beautiful products in the world, and we're not here to cover it up with a bunch of clever things. We want to make sure we sell that experience. So when people get here, they understand what Fruita is, and it mirrors the experience they saw in the advertising. Second, building interest and affinity through a unique brand style, personality, or character. This has got to be something, the smaller the budget, the bigger the idea has to be. We want something where when people see it, they say, yes, I want to be a part of that. Break through multiple points of contact, try to surround people as much as we can, and propel engagement through audience participation. And that includes galvanizing stakeholder, influencer, and ambassador advocacy. What we're trying to say there is it's not enough just to make people excited to come to Fruita. We want to make the people here feel proud to be a part of the community, excited to spread the word, because we're going to be counting on them to spread the word about this campaign.
Eat it, my friend. As Bill mentioned, I'm Kim. I'm the account manager, which is kind of like the project manager. I make sure all the balls are rolling in the right direction, make sure we're all on the same page and doing what we said we would do. So what you'll get audience insights. It's really important for us to understand your audience and what they need, what they want. And then our audience is also you guys. We want to partner with you guys and make sure that we're doing the right thing for you and with you. Big idea campaign, as Matt so eloquently said, small budgets, big ideas, even big ideas with big budgets. We just need a really big idea to break through. Integrated communications plan, everything we do has to work together. We can't have anything separated or disjointed. It all has to work together. Social media ideas, public relations outreach, if you choose and want to do that. And then partnership opportunities. We love different and unique ways of partnering with other groups, businesses, other people to stretch our budget and make the most impact. All right. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, we had some insights, but I don't know if they're relevant for this meeting. We'll probably save them for tomorrow. So we just wanted to close by thanking you all for having us here at your meeting. And if there are questions, we're happy to take them.
Thank you. Any,
My question is, how do I stop sharing? There, I did it.
any questions from this team?
I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Thank you.
So, sorry, I do have a couple questions and I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I know some of this world. When I was reading through the agreement, I saw that we got final art. Do we get the supporting files as well, like packaged files as part of that program? Pardon me? Oh, yes, thank you.
Yes, you get really the assets of the campaign.
Okay, and then we have those rights to that in full perpetuity,
Yes,
right? And then the last question is for media buying, is that the standard 15%?
that's something that we're going to work with Shannon and Sarah about.
Okay,
But yeah, most of our income will be through agency fees as opposed to commission. So the commission will be relatively minor or modest,
okay,
particularly given the scope of the media budget. We feel that's the right and the fair thing to do. So fees will be the key.
that was it for me. So thank
Good
you.
questions. Again, we're looking forward to it. We really are.
So based on that, we are looking for a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 2024-43, a resolution approving a professional services agreement for an advertising and promotion service with Barnhart Communications and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the agreement.
Second. I have a first and a second. Any additional questions or comments? Deb, would you please poll council?
Counselor Hansi, Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
Counselor Downs,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Williams.
Yes,
Motion passes 6-0.
Great. Thank you very much.
thanks, guys.
Next, we have a presentation, a request to approve resolution 2024-46, authorizing the city to enter into a development agreement with Two Forks Ventures for the lunch project. And who is? Dan, you're kicking this off? Dan Karras, our planning director.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Again, my name is Dan Karras. I'm the planning director for the city of Fruita. Seems like this has been a long time coming. We've been working on this project dating back to 2017 when we initially took on the kind of concept planning for the redevelopment and reimagination of the old decommissioned sewer lagoons. And this project's taken several different, paths along the way. We had a private partner before. The market sort of conditions weren't right. We kind of invigorated the scope and the big idea associated with redeveloping the old decommissioned sewer lagoons, and really took that effort up in 2022. And then here we are kind of almost into 2025 with a private partner and a lot of sort of steps along the way in order to reimagine this site. And so I think just sort of for the benefit of the public audience and just anyone interested in this project, I think we're going to kind of take this down in 3 bite-sized pieces, sort of like how we got here, where we're going, and then have kind of the mechanisms we're going to use in order to get that done. I'm joined here with Gavin Brook, who is our private partner for Two Forks Ventures. And then also online, we have Dalton Kelly with Butler Snow, that is sort of the author of the partnership agreement that's in your packet this evening. So I just wanted to touch on, I'm not going to read all these off, but touch on kind of the overall timeline. We started studying this based off of the support from a previous council, but the council with a $75,000 budget, which contemplated $25,000 from the private developer to essentially do the due diligence. That due diligence report is in your packet as well. And it kind of, I think, was the initial sort of prove it step that got us to where we're at today. kind of on the heels and during the middle of the due diligence, we codified a memorandum of understanding with Two Forks Ventures that kind of guided the sort of development path. And so I think that's important because we've had to push that out a few different times in order to be where we're at today. Obviously, the council went on a tour with our private partner with a myriad of different stops along the way in Eagle and then communities along the Roaring Fork Valley to kind of see what the site could be as it relates to the launch today. And then we presented the due diligence report and established guiding principles. All of that is within your packet. This has certainly been a project that has been talked about during the comprehensive planning process. It's a part of this council's strategic plan to try and tackle. And so we believe that we've delivered a partnership agreement that kind of meets the spirit of all those guiding documents and then also shares roles and responsibilities as well as risk, and then also the upside for both the private and the public sectors. So I just wanted to kind of stop right here and say, why are we doing this? Why is this project being contemplated as a part of a public and private partnership? I think we've talked about this a million times, but it's important for the benefit of the public that, this site has major floodplain constraints. It has orders of magnitude in the hundreds of thousands of cubic yards of material that need to be filled in order to make the site buildable. And then obviously it's constrained with a significant cost burden for, offsite utility extension into the site, the relocation of a lift station. And then obviously the amenitization of the site would be difficult to be contemplated by a private partner, just considering the fact that its big benefit is gaining access to the river. And so that's why we sort of merged those ideas, established a partnership that we think can work to phase this out over time and realize the site to be something pretty spectacular for the city. I just wanted to stop here, kind of two things that matter this evening. One, the ordinance 2025-04 not being contemplated right now, but in the agreement, they're set up to follow the spirit of the fact that if we were to approve resolution 2024-46, that would essentially trigger conveyance of real property. And so that first reading calls for a hearing for January 21st. Again, not what's being contemplated right now. Just want to make sure that everybody is understanding of the order of operations within the agenda. And then with that, I'd like to bring up Gavin Brook, our private partner from Two Forks Ventures, and he will take us through the where are we going portion of the presentation.
You, Dan.
Mayor, council members, Gavin Brook with Two Forks Ventures. Thanks for having me again. Seem to be a weekly occurrence, every other week. I can't resist but to, in photographs, rehash a little bit of what Dan talked about. So I think we're gonna, I'll try and flip through quickly. This is the site in all its glory. The blue are the trails that currently run through the site. And of course, the two settling ponds are one of the major challenges with the fill. Here's my somewhat shorter list, but interestingly notice that the first draft of the development agreement arrived in May of 24, and it took us until the end of November before we got to the final draft. So the agreement that's in your packet has been well lawyered by our side and your side. So, this reminds us that shortly after the MOU was signed, Fruita went and secured full ownership of parcels that were owned by one riverfront or owned jointly by one riverfront in Mesa County. Those are the 4 parcels to the page north of this photo. And the original 26 acres was that center with the settling ponds. This was our riverfront parks road trip. It included some of you, but not all of you. It was a lot of fun. It was enjoyable. I'd be happy to rehash it for anybody who missed out and wants to go do it. Just a few shots, memorial of Joel. The original name of this project was The Beach, and Joel printed 3 very collector's items, custom. I think I have one hanging in my office. These were the real takeaways. Safe access and ADA access to the river, organic features and placemaking through a variety of mechanisms. We'll look at those in a photo. A boat ramp, sandy beach, and family recreation node. And directly following and out of that road trip came the guiding principles, which are shared and intended to be embedded into the PUD and the CCNRs for the property. So they will be carried forward by all future builders on that site. This is some of the fun photos. These are not necessarily the places we've visited. I believe this on the right is Eben G. Fine Park in Boulder. And on the left is another location on the Front Range, but the concept is natural materials making places and places to make the river safe to access. Recreation nodes, some of the ideas are being able to take out and launch more easily and more affordably, but the primary concept is we're a river town without very good river access. And so this will give us 860 feet of developed river access, and another about 400 feet of undeveloped river access. And then River Chill and Family Zone. The whole idea here is that this becomes a place where Fruita can hang out by the river. So some of the constraints, you can see the floodplain. The blue is the 100-year and the green is the 500-year. So it comes well up into the site. One of the critical aspects of the partnership agreement is partnering with the city so that they can be the applicant for a couple of adjustments in the floodplain. We're looking to shift some of the impacted zones in a way that can facilitate some development of public and private amenities closer to the river. Again, the soils are a challenge and the fill is one of the major challenges. And so now we're to the conceptual parcel map. Dark green is the part that becomes public with the partnership. Light green is the part that becomes private. As the roads get developed, they'll also be dedicated to the city and become public as well. So there are a few slivers in there and potentially some additional parking, access to open space, trail connections, those sorts of things. The general strategy here in terms of development, if you can see the parcels starting on the lower left is parcel 1, directly above it, kind of the nose on the face there is parcel number 3. So 1 and 3 would be the earliest developed parcels. 4 would likely follow that. That's the one along I-70. And that would give us the 6 to 8 years we think it'll take to fill the lagoons. And then the lagoon parcels 7 and 8 will develop later. This is one of the early concept designs. The building on the far left is called the River Club now. You had other names, but they were not appropriate. And then 2 mixed-use buildings are proposed, and I'll show you a few pictures of the mixed-use buildings that we talked about in the early design phases. Along with this is an extension of Raptor Road that is continuous with the boat ramp that goes basically all the way to the river. A reserved landing for a potential pedestrian bridge across the Colorado River to Snook's Bottom. Currently in this picture, about a 5-acre park, and then the other side of the river is about another 14 acres, or sorry, the other side of the Little Salt Wash is another 14 acres or so. And phase 1 would be an undeveloped open space. And this is a zoom in of that same area, showing the improvements in a little bit more detail. This is one of the places that we had used as an inspiration. This is the Walcott Yacht Club. It is now out of business, unfortunately. They have moved to Hawaii, I understand. So they went from riparian to oceanic. But this is a bar, open, largely patio oriented, informal, rough around the edges, but kind of wonderful bar at the end of the road kind of feeling. This is a mixed use building in Carbondale that has residential on the top 2 floors and small businesses on the lower floor. These are a couple of rooftop patio inspiration images. This is another contemporary version of some mixed-use buildings. And finally, a stage and some shade structures that have been talked about in the public area of the park. So really, I'm here to talk about the next steps. That was a detour to bring us to today, the road ahead. The next steps are a real estate contract. That'll take us through about the next 2 quarters or 6 months before the actual closing occurs. During that time, we'll be building out the team in collaboration with the Community Development Department. So we'll build out civil engineers, landscape architects, soils consultants, a slew of members. We'll bring back on river restoration for the boat ramp design. And we'll be proceeding with site planning. I have my invariable, incomprehensible sketches. We'll elevate those so that they're presentable. I have been dreaming of interim uses, so I like the idea of being able to open up the site or portions of the site to the public as soon as possible. It won't be grass for a couple of years, but to be able to give access and increase the level of accessibility, I think is a strong argument for public participation. And then we'll be pursuing entitlements. We'll go through a PUD process through the City of Fruita's normal channels. We'll be the primary applicant. The city will be a co-applicant. We'll go through that and do the park as well as the zoning for the private development. In the long-term future, the second and third phases of this will come back for site plan approval for any major buildings. But the first review will include a site plan review for phase 1, including the park and the private. Here's a conceptual timeline. We had members of the council who couldn't read it last time, so I printed some of the key dates a little larger on the bottom this time.
Thank you.
These are conceptual. It's underlined in the title. We are riding economic waves. We're riding market demand. There's a lot that is going to decide how quickly this moves. This is an optimistic but realistic view. We've got 2 quarters in under contract, so the first significant site planning will happen in Q3 of 25. A PUD application will follow that a few months later. Infrastructure, we could see about a year after that, so Q3 of 26 through the winter. First lot sale would presumably be to an entity that was going to build the club, the River Club, or one of the mixed-use buildings. We'd be looking to Q2 of 27, so essentially 2.5 years from now, before we'd break ground on what I believe would be public and private improvements. Those are designed to happen concurrently. Part of the partnership agreement is about performance on the private side. And then if we're looking way out, grand opening of the River Park, and Eddie Out was a name that we were playing with for the River Club, would be early 2029. So 2 years following. And last lot sale, if you really want to take the long view, is in 2036. I think this is solidly a 10 to 12-year project. And in reality, some of these lots may change hands a couple of times and still be vacant 2 decades from now, just because of the way neighborhoods develop. The guiding principles, I just wanted to remind us that these were shared values that we developed together. They'll be incorporated in the neighborhood CCNRs. They'll be adopted by all partners, present and future. And then the partnership and reporting with the city council. Dan and I had a conversation about stepping up our reporting for the next 1.5 or 2 years. So reporting every 60 days through entitlements and 100% CDs on the civil engineering side. And then we would enter into a PUD process. We'd follow a typical city PUD process. We would add a kickoff for a bunch of community outreach events. There's so much public improvement in this that I think would be very important. Also was very meaningful in the early stages of farm to reach out to people and understand what was needed locally. So we see that for the private side as well. We would start the formal process with the Council and Planning Commission workshop, which I think is normal for your process with big proposals. And then we do preliminary PUD hearings with P&Z and zoning ordinance readings with the City Council. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gavin.
Any questions? Anything we can?
Is Dolby up? Is he going to present? Why don't we get through? We'll work with Dolby and then we'll come back for questions and comments.
Awesome.
Dolby.
Sorry. I have been talking to the CPAs all day. I apologize.
Can you hear us, Dalton?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, he sure can.
I own that.
Well,
and,
good.
Aaron's
Yeah.
correct. I have been on the phone and emailing the CPAs today.
I understandable. We're in that last week grind where everything's pushed into this week. So it's completely understandable. Good to be before you tonight, Mayor and Council. So that was a great overview by Dan and Gavin of really where we've been and where we're going. And so the document you have before you tonight that the resolution would approve is really the document that's going to guide the process for the parties as we go from conceptual, the concept right now through design to construction drawings, and then ultimately sets forth how the parties are going to interact as far as construction responsibilities, funding, and then how the lots will be sold and then proceeds will be shared. And so there are really 5 major components to the development agreement before you. The first is that the city is going to retain title to the site of the offsite improvements and the public improvements. The second component is that the parcel that is going to be the site of the private improvements will be transferred to Two Forks Ventures. And as Dan referenced earlier, that timeline, if this development agreement is approved, basically gets kicked in, and the city would need to start taking steps to enter into a real estate contract and move towards conveying that piece of property. Now, the third component is really the consideration and what Two Forks is giving in payment for the property. And so ultimately what Two Forks under the agreement would do is deliver a promissory note that is in the amount of the current appraised value of the property. I shouldn't say current, it was the appraised value of the property when we entered into the memorandum of understanding. So it relates back to 2023, but the parties agreed to use that appraised value that was agreed to in 2023. And so Two Forks would deliver a promissory note in that amount. It's in the amount of roughly 1 million, I think it's 1,600,000, but I can find that for you. But the way that promissory note gets paid down over time is some of the process that Gavin mentioned. And that's really the fourth piece here is the note is paid back by Two Forks spending money to get the design done from conceptual design through construction drawings. And that's not just for the private improvements, that's for the public improvements in the offsites as well. And so if the city decides to enter into this agreement, Two Forks is responsible for working with the city to get the conceptual design through construction drawings for the offsite improvements, the on-site public improvements for phase one, and then for their private improvements for phase one. As those costs come in and are paid, Two Forks submits invoices. The city signs off on eligible costs, and that's how the promissory note is paid down. Ultimately, if it's not completely paid down with Two Forks spending as much as the property is worth, by the time we get through design, then when lot sales eventually commence, there's an increased share percentage for the city until that that amount is reached. So for the council and for the public, ultimately Two Forks is compensating the city for the value of the entire piece of property. It's just more through in-kind contributions of doing the design for the offsites and for the public improvements that you otherwise would have to do anyway if you're going to develop this piece of property. And so just want to clarify, how that contribution works. And then really the big piece here, the fifth piece, is then this lot sharing and split. And so then for the private improvement portion of this, Two Forks will go through subdivisions, get those lots prepared, and ultimately sell them. And then the city and Two Forks share in the profits of those sales, subject to a couple carve outs for closing costs and some costs incurred by Two Forks along the way. And so that's really the relationship between how the parties contribute the property, transfer it, and then ultimately you're compensated for it. The other big piece is outside of just the real estate relationship of this is the city is agreeing to take on the public improvement part of this for and the offsites for phase one, and Two Forks is agreeing to take on the private improvement part of this for phase one, and then development for future phases. There is an estimated cost right now, and if ultimately construction costs through design are estimated to come in above 110%, the parties have a process to work together to value engineer that down, or to fund overruns, and then ultimately recoup overruns through lot sales. And so there's a mechanism to keep the process moving if costs come in above. And then the last piece of this is zoning, entitlements, any financing of the construction and improvements. All of that still comes back before the city council through its normal process. What this agreement really does is lay out the steps for how we're getting there. But those decisions still go through the normal process. And so outside of really the big trigger of we're on the timeline for transferring the real estate and that relationship for Two Forks to deliver the promissory note and the way that goes through the process, the big responsibilities out of the gate are just design and on which is Two Forks' responsibility. But there will be time for the city council to continue to engage and work through this project through entitlements, through your normal process, through your normal land use approvals, and then ultimately through your determination on to determine to fund the construction of public improvements and how you do that. That's the broad overview of the agreement. Happy to shed some more light on anything that caught your eye, or if anything just missed the boat on it, let me know and we'll circle back to it.
Right. Thank you very much. So Dan or Gavin, is there anything else you want to add? Okay. With that, bring it back to council.
I'd just like to thank everybody that's been participating in this this experience. I think it'll be a great asset for our community, and I guess I see it as just this is a big point in the whole plan to put a stamp on it, sign some contracts, and keep moving forward. But this has been a lot of hard work over what, year and a half, 2 years, and so appreciate everybody participating, because I think we've beat things pretty good to where we're happy where we're at right now and excited for the future. So thank you.
Amen.
Yeah, it's in my notes. I'm like, I mean, this started over 2 years ago, actually a lot longer, as this kind of big, hairy, audacious goal. And it took a while to kind of get arms wrapped around. No project of this size is without risk. So I'd like to thank everybody involved, Dalton, for working through that process and hearing our concerns as council in terms of how do we protect the public side of that. Gavin, I know this has taken a long time back and forth with the lawyers, but thank you with working with that team and really trying to make sure everybody's protected. You know, this is a great plan. It will not go according to plan. It never does, but I think this gives us a great framework to kind of work through the challenges that come up. So thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah,
All right.
yes, echo all of the things. It's just a very exciting time. I'm honored to get to be a piece of the puzzle, as this takes many more years to completion, but it's exciting to be a part of it. So thank you for allowing that for us.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the team while we've got everybody?
My only thing, I wanted to talk about the guiding principles form that we have now. Is this a binding part of the contract, or is it a living, changing thing as it moves forward, or are we kind of locked down to this? And the reason, and I'll just get to the thing, you know what, I want it to be the free river access, to make sure that that's always in there. So I just wanted to make sure I see it here, which I'm very happy about, but I just wanted to see how much of the context of this is locked in. You look so comfortable, Gav, sorry.
The city controls that.
Okay,
So that has nothing to do with us. It's
sure.
public streets to a public park, just as it would be in any other setting. So if the city at some point in the future sees the need to charge an access fee or something,
Then that's on them.
The current or future private owners don't get to make that decision. They'll weigh in.
Perfect.
So
Thank you.
all in your hands.
Okay.
One other thing, Councilmember Williams, we tried to bake in those guiding principles in the recorded documents vis-a-vis like the CCNRs. So like every single time you want to make a change to that, like the sort of how we did this whole thing conversation comes up.
Perfect.
And it's going to be littered throughout the zoning ordinance, which is going to be land unit development. So I think they're not, it's not like they're not changeable, but to course sort of correct or shift significantly, there'd have to be some real significant justification to do that. So that was something that was on everybody's mind.
Right. And I figured as much, and I just wanted to bring it up just so we could talk about it. So thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Great job, guys.
I move to approve resolution 2024-46, a resolution of the city council of the city of Fruita, Colorado, authorizing the city to enter into a development agreement with Two Forks Venture, Inc. for the launch project.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other questions or comments before we go to vote?
Counselor Purser,
Indeed.
Counselor Parrish, Counselor Downs, Counselor Miller,
Absolutely.
Counselor Williams,
Absolutely.
and Counselor Hansi.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Congratulations, everyone. I know this was a lot of work, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And
All right.
Mr. Mayor, if we can, we did want to request, if possible, since we talk a lot about celebrating our accomplishments, and this is such a great accomplishment for council, but the community as well, that we wanted to propose taking a quick 5-minute break. We have some cookies to celebrate, but also get a picture of the developer and staff and council with the conceptual design that was presented tonight, if that's okay with the council.
I think that will be a-okay. The time is 7:45. We're going to take we'll call it an 8-minute recess.
Thank you.
8 minutes.
8 minutes, not 7. 52, and we're coming back in here just in time.
Fantastic.
Now I've lost my place. All right, here we go. All right, we're done with proclamations and presentations. So now we're moving into public participation. That cookie was not a good idea. And consent agenda. As a reminder, we've combined the public participation and the consent agenda comments into one section. And this section is set aside for the city council to listen to comments by the public regarding items that do not otherwise appear on the agenda or that are on the consent agenda. We ask that everybody please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and full address. Is there anybody that would like to come up and speak on something that's not on the agenda or on the consent agenda? It's the cookie. Public participation or the consent agenda. Thank you.
I'm Tessa Bynum. I live at 255 North Ash Street. Okay. You are all parents, and I don't think your kids are as young as mine, but I would like you to imagine that you are just a regular person with a 9 or 10-year-old, and you're not a council member, but the Fruita PD shows up at your house saying that you are guilty of unlawful behavior, and you get this code from 10.04.030 as a response, and it's in section 801A. It is unlawful for a pedestrian to engage in any activity within city or within public street or roadway that obstructs or reasonably could obstruct the free flow of vehicular traffic or otherwise construes or reasonably could construe a hazard except as expressly permitted or authorized by this code. B, it is unlawful for a parent, guardian, or other person having care or custody of any child under the age of 10 years to intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly allow or permit such child to violate subsection A of this section. And C, the fact that a child under the age of 10 years to engage or is engaged in any activity within a public street or roadway contrary to the provisions of subsection A in this section shall be prima facie evidence to the parent or that the parent, guardian, or other person having custody of the child is guilty of violating this section. So tell me, what happened? What did your kid do? Were they playing basketball, riding their bike, jaywalking? I mean, imagine you're the person that broke this code. What were you doing? Because I'm not dumb. I'm not a genius, but I'm not dumb. And I have no idea what that says. So while I would like to discuss the sections 1205, 1412, 1701, and 1703, I think it's more important to help you guys understand the importance of accessibility. When city codes are written in clear and understandable language, that it empowers everybody. It fosters trust, reduces misunderstandings, and makes it so all residents feel respected and included. It's also a part of Fruita's core values. Per the strategic plan, page 4, in summary, it says that Fruita staff will appreciate, build, and maintain the public's trust while being fun, respectful, united, innovative, transparent, and authentic. Whereas complicated baloney in the communications from the city and the codes create confusion, resentment, and an us versus them situation. Inclusion and equity should be at the heart of every policy, code, and decision that this council makes, so that residents can make informed choices, comply with regulations, and advocate for their rights without needing a law degree. According to the 2023 census, 31.1% of Fruita residents had a bachelor's degree or higher. So who are you writing these codes for? Is it all these people that sit in this room?
Yes, that you wrap up.
Yep, I'm almost done. Or is it for the residents who live in city limits? I'll leave you with a reminder that the newspapers in this country write articles at an 8th grade reading level, and they aren't leaving people with the possibility of misdemeanors, jail terms, and $1,000 fines for noncompliance. Thank you.
Hey, sorry, before you go, this is not a place where we engage, but I wasn't fast enough in terms of writing down the code numbers. If you could kindly repeat those.
So it is code 10.04.030, and it is the first code change that is on the consent agenda for today.
Okay, that is, okay, thank you. For clarification, that is for the first reading. And there will be, that does not mean that's what's being approved. By any means, there will be a second reading on this, at which point in time, council can go review and make changes before it is adopted. So thank you. And any corrections to what I just said? Great, okay. All right, thanks. Is there anybody else that would like to participate on anything that's not on the agenda or that is on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, I am closing public hearing, or I'm sorry, I'm closing public comment. Boy, that cookie's really hitting me. All right, with that, we're going to move into public hearing and action items, which we have 3 on the agenda.
Excuse me, Mayor. You haven't adopted
Oh,
the consent
I'm sorry,
agenda.
thank you.
Yes.
All right, is bringing it back to council. This is why I shouldn't have sugar. Bringing it back to council. Is there anything that anybody would like to discuss or pull off the consent agenda?
Just have a quick question. I was just looking at sales tax or use tax for building materials, and I just know that there's a lot of development going on. So I think we had like 30 or 60-ish COs in 23. Do we know what 24 is looking like and what we anticipate for 25?
We are looking it up right now. 25 in the budget, we have 75 building permits to estimate for next year. I believe we've exceeded that already, but we do have a chart on our website. Our city planner, Henry Hemphill, look it up right now. Yeah, use tax on building materials, we are seeing some decreases as compared to prior years. There is still a lot of development occurring. In the last couple of years, some of those materials have increased in cost. So as they've kind of come and stabilized some of those costs, especially for just your traditional building materials, that could explain some of it. But it is down, and motor vehicles is also down as well. We contribute a lot of that to just changes in like consumer habits with, interest rates being where they're at, and other kind of factors that maybe people are spending less and not purchasing as many as they were prior. But
And this is also like 2-month lag.
yeah,
So
it
it's
is. Yeah.
reported in October. It's really from August. It's August activity.
This is for, yep. So it's 2 months. So the ones before you tonight are for the October revenues. Yeah.
Yeah. Should be August activity.
For October. Yeah.
For October.
December. Yeah. Since you're seeing it in December, it's for October. Yeah. Yeah. We'll get that number for you right now.
It can come
Oh.
later on. That's fine.
120 so far this year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Aaron?
No, that's it.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as before us.
First and second, last chance. All right, Deb?
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
Counselor Downs, Counselor Miller, Counselor Williams, Counselor Hansi, and Counselor Purser. Motion passes 6-0.
Great, thank you very much. With this, we're going to head on into public hearings and action items, of which we have 4 on the agenda. The first one being a quasi judicial public hearing on ordinance 2024-21, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the lease of real property owned by the city of Fruita located at 550 Jurassic Court in the city of Fruita, and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the lease for the Dinosaur Journey Museum. And our finance director, Joe, you are up.
Good evening. My name is Joe Zaire. I'm the finance director for the city of Fruita. I've been told not to address you as your holy eminence, not to address the council as the tribunal, but here we are. So, Mr. Mayor, city council members, the ordinance before you originally was a 10-year lease with the Museum of Western Colorado for the Dinosaur Journey Museum. And in the current term, it is being pulled back to a 5-year lease with 4 5-year additional terms for a total of 25 years. That was just on behalf of a request from Museums of Western Colorado. They have some big plans they're hoping to see happen. And so they wanted an option to be able to move forward with those plans if needed. The premises has been redefined. It previously included what is now the Bark Park that does not have a wood chipper, but you never know. And that area was to be an expansion area, but that area has since been turned into the Bark Park, so it's been taken off. The museum will still have exclusive use of the parking lot. The rent payment remains the same with a base rent of $57,600. That is actually offset by maintenance and other items that the Museums of Western Colorado can offset with. If they do not offset, then they will pay us cash and rent. To date, that hasn't happened. And in fact, they told me about a big bill they got coming in, so I think they'll be okay. Big part of this is just that it's been a long-term lease, the last 10 years. They're willing to extend for longer. It's a great partnership, brings in revenue, draws people to our area, introduces them to, you know, the prehistoric times and this great geological event that we have here. And it is a really fun place to visit. If you haven't been there, I would just highly recommend it. So it is the recommendation of staff that this lease be adopted, this ordinance be adopted, and that the interim city manager is allowed to sign this lease agreement. Any questions?
We're going to open up to the public as well.
Sure.
So with that, would anybody from the public like to make public comment on this ordinance 2024-21? All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
Nothing.
Just to clarify, this comes to the council every 5 years. It's not a 20-year lease, it's a 5.
Right. It's a 5-year with a renewal is how I read this.
Yes, it's a 5-year lease with up to 4 5-year renewals. Yes.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure.
You bet.
And then can you refresh my memory as to when they have the reconciliation?
Usually it's annually. They usually provide us with their financials by the end of January. And so then we get a good look. I have been sent a preliminary. And so it looks like they will meet their requirements for 2024. But as I mentioned to the current director, send me this at the end of January. So.
Right. So, and then that reconciliation just goes to, assuming to you, Joe, and to Shannon? Yes. Okay.
Correct.
And as part of that too, we've been asking the executive director to come and make a presentation before the city council. So Sheena is planning on doing that kind of each year to talk about the improvements they've made to the facility, but also address any updates at Dinosaur Journey or Museums of Western Colorado as a whole.
I wanted to bring up something that when this lease from back in the day when this was originally gone into, and it was something that got pushed to the wayside along the ways, and somebody might remember this. I'm probably gonna foggy this up pretty good, but it was my understanding that there was supposed to be a free visit for either kid in our community per year underneath the original agreement, and then it just kind of faded off. And I was just curious if anybody remembered that or if it was in this previous lease that's going away. But I do remember there being wordage that there was supposed to be like, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a free visit for every kid that lived in Fruita or something like that. And it just kind of faded away where it wasn't being utilized, and it was still in the wording. but it hadn't been utilized for so many years that it kind of had gotten forgotten. And again, I'm really grasping at something that's really foggy, but I'm just curious if anybody else remembered it. Unfortunately, not a knock on Joe, but Margaret might have been the only one that would have remembered that. But I wanted to say that in case maybe Amy or somebody remembered that.
You know, they do participate in the SNAP program though, where they like, if you are SNAP qualified, then you do get.
Oh, okay. So they maybe
So I
moved
think
to
it
that.
probably shifted.
Okay, great.
I don't doubt that existed, but
Sure.
I think it probably evolved into what it is now.
Okay.
Now that they have that very established program
Good.
that's easier to track and I think easier to get the word out.
And it's definitely not like a knock on the scenario. I think it's phenomenal. And I really like that it's a there for the kids to get engaged with. So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't losing that somewhere. So thank you. It's good.
Would you want to go back and have that researched?
You know, if they're doing that, I'm okay with that. I was just curious to, if anybody remembered it. Maybe Janine, did you have anything that you thought about
Well, I
that?
think maybe they sent out a pass up to the schools, like a day pass.
Mhm.
At one time. Like, yes, I think that did happen, but I think.
No, I think it was like embedded in the original deal.
Well, I think.
Yeah,
you're
it's what
right,
I'm talking
but
about.
how they made it happen.
Oh, is
It's sending it to the school.
And then it stopped.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
But it wasn't like a mean, like, no, we're not gonna do that.
No,
It kind of faded
no.
away.
But I was gonna say that when we had the presentation a couple weeks ago, that she talked about getting like the kids to have free field trips there and things like that. So I think
That's
that
right.
that
Okay.
that is yeah, it's adjusted and moving.
Perfect.
These different avenues to make that intent still happen.
I'm good.
So we've had a first, no, we haven't had a
No,
first.
we haven't had a move.
So does somebody care to make a motion?
Move that we adopt ordinance 2024-21, second reading, approving the lease agreement between the city of Fruita and the Museum of Western Colorado for the Dinosaur Journey Museum and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the agreement.
All right, maybe first and second, any other questions, concerns, or comments? All right, hearing none.
Counselor Downs,
Excuse me, yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
and Counselor Parrish.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
So Joe, I'm glad you didn't go anywhere. Next up, we have a legislative hearing on resolution 2024-47, a public hearing amending the 2024 budget with supplemental appropriations of funds for supplies, special projects, and capital projects. And Joe, you're back up.
Joe Zaire, Finance Director, City of Fruita. I'm back. Just for this short, brief moment. Yeah, I got the first one done. Yes, this is an amendment to the 2024 budget for 3 supplemental appropriations, general fund, capital fund, and for yeah, general fund and capital fund, actually. Sorry. One of the things we got was a grant for $3,900 from our state insurance company, CIRSA. This money is intended to be used for reimbursement of firearms and ammunition. We received more donations this year for arts and sculpture. $1,300 will be used to fund mini grants for 2 area groups. And then finally, the transfer of general funds over to the capital projects, $125,000 for Maple Street Bridge. This is simply a matter of that project is moving forward faster than anticipated. So these aren't actually extra dollars. These are dollars that would have been spent next year, but we don't want to lose momentum. So we want to keep going. Any questions?
Gonna open it.
Yes, actually, do we need, is it public or just us?
No, last time I got it backwards.
Okay.
It should go council, then public. Thanks for
Okay.
pointing that out.
Okay, reimbursement for firearms and ammunition for our police department.
That is correct. Yes, not just for anybody.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thanks. Thanks for clarification on that.
You.
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it needs clarified.
A lot of time into that report.
Anything else? All right, with that, I'd like to open up for public comment. All right. Hearing none, I'm going to bring it back to council. Any other questions or comments? All right. With that, need a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 2024-47, amending the 2024 budget with supplemental appropriations of funds in the general fund and capital projects fund for supplies, special projects, and capital projects.
Second.
First and second, any other questions or comments other than I'm glad to see that the bridge project is going faster and a good pace. Hearing none, Deb?
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi, Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
and Counselor Downs. Motion passes 6-0.
Jeff,
For two.
you staying up for this third one or?
No, that's not mine.
Okay. I think so. That was yours. Just enjoying the moment. All right. Last on the list is resolution 2024-44. A resolution of the city council authorizing the interim city manager to execute the co-op tower facade lease agreement and all the documents necessary to effectuate the lease. And Ciara, you're up.
Awesome. All right, Mayor, members of City Council, Ciara Amen, Communications and Engagement Manager with the City of Fruita. Like you said, tonight's resolution 2024-44 is regarding the co-op tower along Highway 6 and 50 and the city leasing the tower facades on the east and west sides. So historically, the City of Fruita has hung banners on the silos as an entrance piece into Fruita, welcoming people into Fruita. And this resolution might sound familiar as it was presented to you all back in March when Sparks Fly Studios was pursuing the purchase of the property. Sparks Fly Studio decided not to move forward with the purchase of the property, but Fruita Silo LLC recently purchased the Fruita Co-op building. The lease agreement tonight is exactly the same as the one you saw back in March of 2024. And with this lease agreement, the city would have access to continue hanging promotional or welcome banners on the silo. And the lease agreement outlines how the city of Fruita would pay Fruita Silo LLC $24,000 annually, or that's also $2,000 per month for leasing the facades. The lease is for a 1-year period and would automatically be renewed for 1 year up to 50 years. And the city can terminate the lease at any time by giving 90 days written notice. And the draft lease agreement in front of you has been discussed and reviewed with Fruita Silo LLC. So the new owners will seek a similar vision and goal for the property that Sparks Fly Studios showcased, which is to revitalize the property with outdoor recreation-based businesses. And we do have Ryan Gartner here tonight with Fruita Silo LLC to introduce himself to you all, and if you have any questions about Fruita Silo LLC. So I'd like to welcome Ryan up. Thank you for sticking it out. Your kiddos are doing awesome.
All righty. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I took some time to type something up just to keep me on track and focus to convey what I'd like to tell you all this evening. My wife, Morgan, my daughter, Madeline, and son, Connor here, we represent Fruita Silo LLC. And so it's an honor to be here with my family to introduce ourselves and share a little bit about the business opportunity we've built and our commitment to Fruita's growth. Our family fell in love with Fruita and its vibrant community, natural beauty, and incredible opportunities it provides to businesses and families alike. The Fam Bam and I coincidentally moved here exactly a year ago today, on the 17th of December in 23. This is because we saw the potential not just to thrive personally, but also to contribute meaningfully to the city's continued growth. With the purchase of the Fruita silo comes the dream of creating one-of-a-kind opportunity that we are excited to call the Community Off-Road and Overland Project. This project is rooted in the belief that small businesses are the backbone of thriving communities. Fruita's dedication to fostering a strong local economy was one of the key reasons we chose to invest here in Fruita, Colorado. The companies that will be making this dream a reality include local businesses, Sparks Fly, Ltd., Element Outdoors, and Colorado Adventure Box. Companies that will be coming to Fruita to join this endeavor include Rogue Moto, J2 Hyundai, Voyager Outdoors, and Moto Racks. In the time that our Fam Bam has landed in Fruita, we've seen firsthand how collaboration between businesses, city leadership, and residents can lead to dynamic economic growth. Fruita becoming a hub not just for outdoor recreation and tourism, but also for innovation, entrepreneurship, and community-centered development. We are committed to being a part of this growth by furthering the amazing reputation the city of Fruita has, and it's important to us that we continue to help create opportunities that benefit both our businesses and the people of Fruita. As Fruita continues to grow, I'm excited to see how we can further align with the city's vision for economic development and community enrichment. Through a strong partnership, we're eager to do our part in making Fruita a place where families and businesses thrive for generations to come. I thank you for your leadership and your work in creating the environment where businesses can flourish. Through creation of this opportunity with the advertising on the silo, my family and I look forward to building strong partnerships with the City Council, other businesses, and neighbors in support of Fruita's bright future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to, first of all, I'm distracted by the light up. I think they're Blue Clue shoes. So very, very cool. There's the first.
Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Get it right.
But with that, I'd like to open it up to public comment. I see none. Thank you very much. Bring it back to council, see if there's any questions or comments.
I have two. One, welcome to our community, and it's very exciting to see what you're going to do with that property, and it'll be great for our economy. Question for staff is, so when do we are we going to be looking to get new banners put up? When do we expect to see that happen?
Yeah, we can, we were thinking of going through the process next year. So coming up with a few ideas with city council, bringing some ideas to you all, making sure it resonates with the community, with city council, getting the input we need, and then probably working with like a local artist to bring those to life and update the banners. So I'm not sure exactly the timeline on that, but 25.
Great. No, appreciate it. No, that'll be exciting to get the community involved and everybody to just see a good glamour fix of the banner. So
Perfect.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys so much
Thanks,
for
guys.
coming and introducing yourself. And it's great to see you, all of you. Like playing around is good. Like it's great. So yeah.
You're welcome.
What a doll. So thank you. It's super exciting to have you.
Yeah, welcome. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
All right, well then, I move to adopt Resolution 2024-44, a resolution of the City Council authorizing the interim city manager to execute the co-op tower facade lease agreement and all documents necessary to effectuate the lease.
Second.
First and second, any other questions or comments? Deb?
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi, Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
Counselor Downs,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Definitely.
motion passes 6-0.
Great. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to move into our administrative agenda, and we have one item on the list tonight, Resolution 2024-48. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Fruita, Colorado, approving a term sheet with Headwater Housing Partners for the Oaks project and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the term sheet. And Dalton Kelly, I believe you are up.
That
to present.
that is me. All right. So what you have before you tonight is a resolution that would authorize the interim city manager to enter into a term sheet with Headwaters Housing Partners for the redevelopment of the Oaks project. This project is proposed to be a redevelopment of the Family Health West property that's located at 805 Otley Avenue into 62 multifamily housing units. Over the past few weeks, really past couple months, we've been in negotiations with Headwaters over several terms. And while those negotiations are still ongoing, we have boiled down where we're at to a term sheet that we're asking the city council to approve tonight that would then guide negotiations going forward as terms are set forth in a redevelopment agreement and a land use restriction agreement. And so while the term sheet tonight is not binding and this isn't the final terms and agreement of the parties, this is the city council saying basically go bring us a redevelopment agreement that reflects these terms or use these terms to negotiate the redevelopment agreement. So though they can change, this is really our guiding terms going forward. Overall, right now, what we've talked about is a few concepts: redevelopment of the project into 62 multifamily housing units. AMI restrictions would be based on future contributions from the city to the project. There would be a schedule that would be agreed to by the parties in the redevelopment agreement that would set forth what the anticipated contribution schedule would be to achieve certain AMI restrictions. There would also be the ability to buy down the AMI in the future. So if we agree to one AMI now, but you want to take it down in the future, there'll be a mechanism to do that. Really, the mechanism for Headwaters to recoup on not receiving an appropriation from the city council is it would release a certain predetermined amount of units from AMI restrictions to market rate to balance out kind of the rent return needs they have for debt service and their other metrics. And so the actual mechanism for that will be agreed to in the redevelopment agreement. But where we're at right now is really what I would describe as a sliding scale. We will set forth an initial contribution and future contributions of the city that would be subject to appropriation by the city council. If those contributions are made, we stay on schedule for certain AMI restrictions throughout the project. If not, they would have the ability to rent those units for different rates unless and until the city bought those down in the future. The other pieces of this, the Fruita Housing Authority has the board for the Fruita Housing Authority has agreed to authorize the Fruita Housing Authority to participate as a limited partner in the ownership entity. And so there will be some tax exemptions for the project that'll help support overall affordability through lower project costs there. And so those are the main terms in this agreement. Like I said, or in this term sheet, like I said, this is not binding today, but what it does is authorize the interim city manager to execute the term sheet, which shows the city's intention to negotiate a redevelopment agreement based off these terms.
And just for clarification, and Shannon, I asked you this, because when I looked at the top of page 4, I was slightly confused by this. It looked like we were authorizing the 1.25 million. And for clarification, we're not authorizing that dollar amount, but this is more structural.
Yeah, to guide negotiations for staff in Dalton in the future. We're still hoping that we can negotiate some deals to where we can get a contribution, whether it's between the city and other partners, whether locally or regionally, to get up to that 1.25 million. So we get the 50% of the units at 80% of AMI and 50% at 100%. But no terms will be agreed upon, and our contributions will be set in kind of that final redevelopment agreement. So just like you're saying, this will come back to the council, but this does not mean that we're making that full 1.25 until any decision's made in the future.
And then the other question is, so I know Family Health West is discussing what their part of this wants to be, but moving forward, if the city finds another entity that wants to participate in this, that entity would negotiate with the city, and then the city would carry that forward, or would that third party negotiate with the developer?
Dalton,
Yeah, I think it just matters what the relationship is with that party. If it's the city bringing that party in and they're contributing to the project, it would be the city negotiating with them. I think ultimately it's going to involve all parties, because essentially what we're working towards is a target market. And this kind of gets back to the $1.25 million figure that you flagged on page 4. We're not agreeing to appropriate or contribute that amount today, but that's our target to achieve the AMI restrictions of half the building or half the project being at 100 AMI and half of it being at 80% AMI. If another party were to come in, depending on the amount the contribution came in and at what time, what we would do is negotiate for that contribution to count towards the city's count towards that amount that we're targeting. And so whether there's a direct negotiation with Headwaters or with the city, ultimately it's going to be wrapped up with all three to make sure we get proper credit for whatever's coming in. Because that's really with this term sheet, we're setting a target for where we'd like to be as we continue to explore negotiations, and that amount can change, but the way we get there, it could also change. And I think that gets to your point more than anything, is we can get to that amount through other ways, and it would be up to us to negotiate how that's credited when those amounts come in or how it's looked at. But I think it would involve all three parties.
What's the time frame that we're looking at to have this agreement finalized? Isn't that like 3 to 6 months?
I think we would like to have it done hopefully sometime in Q1 25. They're incurring costs right now as they move forward, and they're going. We've been able to work on getting the purchase date for the real estate pushed out a little bit further, and Dan can speak to that. But I know they're under some pressure to get closed on the real estate and then work towards their construction financing. And so I think we will be, if council does approve this term sheet, we'll be pushing pretty hard to try to get something done as soon as possible. Dan, I don't know if you have some more insight on timeline.
I think we're going to aim to try and bring something back, or at least a structure that is within the spirit of the term sheet, the third Tuesday in January.
Great, thank you. Nice to get that soon.
Questions?
I move to approve resolution 2024-47, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fruita, Colorado, approving a term sheet with the Headwaters Housing Partners for the Oaks project and authorizing the interim city manager to execute the term sheet.
And for clarification, it's 2024 48.
Okay, mine says 47. but-
So does mine.
Oh,
The agenda says 40.
48, and I'm looking at the actual resolution in the packet.
Okay.
It says 48.
Oh,
That's correct. We had a little mix up on, I thought I was 47, but I was really 48 because I think Shannon took the 47. So
let's take it, Shannon.
Welcome to interim. All right, so it is 48, correct?
you did.
So slightly amended.
Yes.
Yes, slightly amended, approve the resolution as stated, 2024-48.
Thank you.
Counselor Hansi,
Oh, we need a second.
Oh, well, I thought we had one with Rich.
Second.
Now we have a second. Any additional comments?
Counselor Hansi,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
Counselor Downs, Counselor Miller, Counselor Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going into the interim city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Very short report tonight. I just wanted to, as we all know, we don't have another meeting for 3 weeks. Definitely no workshop next Tuesday. So I just want to wish everyone happy holidays and happy New Year. And to prepare for the January 7th meeting, I'm actually going to turn it over to our city attorney, Mary Elizabeth Geiger, just to briefly discuss some of the items that will be on that meeting.
Thank you, Shannon. Mary Elizabeth Geiger, City Attorney. So just a reminder that on January 7th, we will have the appeal hearing for the Excel appeal of the Planning Commission's confirmation of the administrative decision that the new transmission lines and poles through the CSR zone district should be undergrounded. So just a reminder, since that is still set for appeal, not to, discuss it amongst yourselves or anyone in the community. That will be an open hearing, of course.
Thank you. Appreciate the guidance as always. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, with that, going to move into council reports and action items. Who wants to go first?
Nothing.
I'll go second. Nothing.
I go third. Nothing.
I wondered if we have an update about the property that had the ditch, the
Flooding?
drainage. Yeah. Have we heard anything more from that? Somebody asked the other day and I was like, oh.
I haven't heard anything recently, but I will check with staff and we can get back to you on that.
Great.
Yeah.
And just attended a couple of GJEP's events. They're always lovely. They're lovely hosts and they really appreciate the city. They always make it very clear. So that was fun.
Uh-huh.
And that's all I have.
That's it.
Nothing.
The small dog park has achieved getting wood chips, which I'm very extremely excited about and happy. It's not a wood chipper, but there are wood chips. I'm very happy about that. And I wanted to say thank you for that. And hopefully the big side will have it soon as well.
All right.
And that's it.
This is like the shortest one ever. I've got nothing. I just had my chamber meeting tomorrow. So I should say Shannon and I did go to the CMU trustees lunch we had to do a little bit of an impromptu presentation, had to keep it under 45 minutes, which was all good. But that went well. And it's just good to try to continue to build a relationship with the university. So that's all I've got on that. We did amend the agenda to have a executive session. Looking around, do we want to do a bio break before we move into executive session?
I'm good.
Okay.
Had the cookie break, so now.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Prefer cookie.
Power through.
All right. So, Rich, I'm going to ask that you make a motion. I actually have it right there.
Make a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to CSR section 24-6-4024B for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the city attorney and pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024E for developing strategy for negotiations and informing negotiators with regard to the 19 road project.
Second.
Move first and a second. Deb?
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish, Counselor Downs, Counselor Miller.
Sorry.
Wait.
Yes. Identity theft. Excuse me.
Counselor
I don't even
Downs,
know where that came from.
Counselor Williams, Counselor Hansi. Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, thanks. We will take a quick break as we switch over the So we are back in open session and would like to open up the discussion on how to proceed with GVIC for 19 Road. So we know we have some deadlines coming up and concerns that we need to make for that. I personally think the best option or one of the paths to take is to write a letter to the GVIC board to allow us to do temporary construction or have a temporary construction agreement that I could sign.
I like that.
So I think we need a motion to authorize a letter.
Sorry to interrupt. You do need a motion, but I guess I would add that first off, that letter should probably address the current pending construction license agreement. Ideally, we get that signed, and then we don't have to worry about a temporary construction agreement. So start there, and then if we're not able to, reach final terms on that, to go ahead and enter into a temporary construction agreement or immediate construction agreement so that we don't get behind. The city
And
doesn't
then
get
I
behind.
think that if that fails, that we should request to have a meeting have
Face-to-face meeting at their next board.
at their next board meeting. Yeah.
So, and the
agree.
agreement.
Yep, I
Has it all written down there.
Okay.
I move to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a letter requesting a temporary construction agreement between the city and GVIC with a response requested by December 23rd. And without a response, move to send city representatives to the January GVIC board meeting to bring the city's temporary construction agreement request to said board.
But we also needs to mention the current thing.
Well,
So
now
Councilor Purser, I would just amend that motion to add that the letter will also include initially a request to go ahead and finalize and sign the construction and license agreement.
Can you say
And
so?
if that's not
amended?
possible, you can say so amended.
So amended.
Rich is ready.
We have a first and second. My only comment is that it's school. Well done. No, very well done. Any other comments?
Done.
Questions? All right, we have a first and a second.
Councilor Miller?
Oh, sorry, Shannon. One other quick question. On attending the meeting on January 2nd, do you want any staff members there? Or are you sending a couple of council members or just the
The
mayor?
motion said city representatives.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
From our new lawyer over here.
You're on notice, Mary Elizabeth.
I have been duly notified.
Shannon.
Councilor Miller?
Yes.
Councilor Downs?
Yes.
Councilor Parrish?
Yes.
Councilor Purser?
Yes.
Councilor Hansi? Councilor Williams?
All right.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much, Shannon. With that, the time is now 9:21 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
What a night.
Last one.
That's yours, right?
That's
Aw.
mine.
Happy holidays to all of you guys. Enjoy the time.